it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog I'm really excited about because I am fully focused on kickstarting my 2024 reading. I can't believe we're on the precipice of a new year, and now that I feel like I've officially wrapped up everything I was planning to read for 2023, I'm focused now on my TBR for the new year and just in general kicking off the new year strong with books I hope I'm going to love so much. With that in mind, I'm very excited about my TBR for this video. I have selected two books that are not only super popular, but in general I just feel like are very beloved by a huge range of readers, which makes me really look forward to picking them both up. So without further ado, let's go ahead and chat about my TBR. So as I said, this TBR I feel like is going to be an absolute win, at least that's what I'm hoping. The first book I have on my TBR is This Is How You Lose a Time War by Max Gladstone. I've heard so many good things about this. This is described as a very peculiar, literary-leaning, like fantasy sci-fi tale about two people who are on opposing sides of some type of conflict, but then begin to like communicate and send letters to one another. I feel like the writing style is going to be really mesmerizing and very, very strange, and I'm hoping this could be a new favorite. And it's very short, so I also feel like it's a great way to jumpstart my reading for the year. And then I also want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I picked this beautiful UK edition up for myself for Christmas, and I've just been really looking forward to picking it up as well. This sounds like it's going to be very lyrical and strange in all of the best ways, but it follows our main character who has her heart broken. The love of her life is marrying someone else, and she makes a deal with a mysterious figure to help her out with that, and I just feel like I'm going to really enjoy it. So yeah, these are the two books I'm starting out 2024 with, and I could not be more excited about it. In other news, before I sit down and get some reading in, I'm actually going to heat up lunch, and in true classic fashion, we have leftover Christmas lasagna, which I'm just gonna throw in the oven and enjoy. We're still in that very weird period of time where it's like the holidays are over, the New Year's is here, but we're all, or I am anyway, I'm just kind of like rotting, vibing, you know? I honestly love this time of year. It's like it doesn't exist in a way. But anyway, I'm gonna heat up this lasagna to enjoy for lunch. And I think my big plan today is literally to read and watch Bravo. You know, just enjoying that holiday time off, if you will. Reheated Christmas lasagna. Even better on the third day, I gotta say. And I just, you know, if you reheat anything in the oven, it always tastes better. So, patience, worth the wait, time to eat, and watch The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
For a thumbs up, no discomfort. Hello. There's a role reversal.
Hello, Matilda. I'm about to sit down and start my first book of the vlog, which I think is going to be This Is How You Lose a Time War. I am also proud of myself, because I pulled myself out of the depths of extreme laziness and I cleaned my entire library room. The books have been put away, boxes have been disassembled, I have vacuumed, and now I'm gonna sit, relax, do a bit of reading, launder, and then I think I'm gonna do a good session of cozy gaming tonight and catch up on some of my favorite reality TV programs, if you will, and of course, read and just lean into this more relaxing week, and of course, read. Hello everyone, I have read 30 pages of This Is How You Lose the Time War, and it is wacky in all of the ways I love. This is definitely also a book that just kind of throws you into the entire experience and you sort of are just piecing it together, and then when you kind of figure out what's going on, you're like, oh, I like what I'm seeing here. But essentially in this book we're introduced to our two main characters, Red and Blue, much like these two birds on the cover, and they are both a part of a time war. Basically there are two entities on either side of this conflict, and they basically traverse time and space, traveling to not only different timelines, but different worlds to further their ends and their attempts to try to defeat the other. This like endless, all-knowing war and conflict where each side is like moving their pieces to try to get an upper hand against the other. And Red and Blue are like very skilled agents on either side, their respective sides, if you will. But also they've begun to pass letters to one another. And while the letters are kind of straightforward, like, hi, how are you? You're so clever. Ha ha ha. Hope you're doing well. Like, that's kind of what they're about. Like, how you're engaging with these letters is so unusual. Like, the book opens up on one of our main characters, Red, on a dying world after two empires fought each other to the death as she orchestrated to basically allow for a power vacuum to open up for, hopefully in hundreds of years from now, a different empire to take the reins of this world and what's going on. And oh, by the way, she runs into a letter by Blue. Fast forward, we follow Blue is at some sort of technology temple centering a religion of like never-ending numbers or whatever, and she is trying to steal like a powerful object there, and hello, she runs into a letter by Red. They're constantly like thwarting each other in their missions that they have to do for their jobs, for their, again, their respective sides, but also passing along kind of like very charming letters. It's such an interesting contrast because one, what they're doing as operatives is very strange and very intense, and like just trying to track what's happening is, again, not very straightforward. And also just like the scale of what's happening, their power and abilities and like, you know, the intensity of what's happening is like not rom-com-y, but the letters are so endearingly, hi, how are you? You know what I mean? So I don't know, there's an interesting contrast happening, and I'm just really enjoying how unusual this is. I have a lot of this book left, but so far I've really just been introduced to Red and Blue, their letters, and have just followed them in various times and locations that they have found themselves in as they are trying to, you know, win the time war, if you will. But I'm really curious to see how this book is going to continue to unfold. I can earnestly say I have no idea where it's going, but I'm looking forward to finding out. I can see why this book is popular. It's super unique, and it's pulled me in very quickly. It's a short book too, so I'm happy it really is wasting no time to be entertaining. So I'm definitely going to read more of this tonight, but now I'm going to go launder, and then I'm going to make dinner and relax for the rest of the evening, I think. Hello, I am laundered and it's time to make dinner. I am making a comfort meal that's also very easy to whip together, and that is chili. So let's chop up an onion and a jalapeno and get to cooking. It really shouldn't take very long, which is the beauty of chili. Chili is now boiling away. We'll let that cook for a little while, then we eat and enjoy. Faux fireplace. Matilda is here, and we are back to reading. Good morning. Yes, it's still Christmas in my house. I'm not totally sure when I'm officially taking down the decorations. I'll probably take down the Christmas ones today because those are pretty easy. But for now, I'm focusing on the caffeine and to get some reading done. I did read over 50% of my book last night, and I have to say, it's so good. It's such an interesting story and structure and concept. And it's also so romantic. This is like a love story played out through letters, through like time, space, history, and everything. And it's just so endearing to watch two people like get to know and then begin to understand, and then inevitably like fall in love with one another. But that in combination with these two people having one of the strangest, most fascinating jobs as agents of a war against each other and like this time war, it's just such an interesting mix of things that works so well, and also just kind of shows how like anyone can fall in love, you know? And also in some regards, like, both these people have wild jobs, but they are in fact their jobs, and they still have aspects of their personal self that are separate from their work, you know? But yeah, it's really good. It's really beautifully written, and I just love letter correspondence. I love letter correspondence. It's one of my favorite things to like kind of have within books and stories. So anyway, I'm gonna keep reading, but I'm really enjoying this book. This book is also really short. I think it's sub 200 pages, so I really don't have too much left. So I'm gonna try to finish it, honestly, maybe right now, and then shift on to Once Upon a Broken Heart. But first, coffee. Hello, friends. I'm dressed and I kind of match my kitchen. Hey. But I'm popping in to report that I have finished This Is How You Lose the Time War, and I really liked this book. it's just one of the most interesting books I've read in a long time. It was one of the most romantic books I've read in a long time. And the mystery and the propulsive nature of this was just so intriguing. I do feel like going into this knowing as little as possible, I definitely think benefits the experience while reading this book, because a lot of it is like just kind of a vibe, like just kind of an essence. The sci-fi and fantasy world building, I feel like the authors do enough where you can kind of understand each side and how each side has impacted each of our main characters, Blue and Red. We're also not getting like an in-depth sci-fi fantasy thriller and like how these two sides have been at war for a long time and like all the strategy and plans of what's happening. Like obviously that is informing how our characters are acting and interacting with each other. But the primary point of this book is the relationship formed between our two main characters, and it's just so sweet. And I loved to read it. Like, it was so romantic. It was also like Shakespearean. Like, it gave me kind of Romeo Juliet vibes, but sapphic, with like this crazy sci-fi fantasy setting. Like, it was just really entertaining. It was a quick read. I loved the letter parts so much. I loved the names they had for each other. Like, you really just bought in so quickly about how seen the other person made them feel, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it, and it was such a great book to kick off the year with. What, you know, a win is a win. So first book down, oh my god, Matilda's being ridiculous right now, I will show you. But first book down, I've read just under 200 pages, and I'm also going to start Once Upon a Broken Heart later today once I finish up my work. But I'm happy to say I finished my first book. But now let me show you Matilda. Absolutely asleep. Paw on the window. Completely stretched out, as she should be. But thunk, I just heard her place his paw there, which is I think why, which is just too funny to me. Lunch is a favorite and one I would highly recommend. Starting off with pita chips, I am making an adult Lunchable, as we will. Cheese, hummus. I bought these little mini peppers for apparently salad snacking and dipping. So I thought these would be great to dip amongst the hummus. Carrots, boil some eggs, and then I think that's it. I think that's everything. And lunch is served. If you thought because Christmas was over I was gonna stop making hot chocolate, you were sorely mistaken. So let's get this party started, shall we? Cheers. I'm gonna go start my second book for this vlog. Hi friends, I have read the first 65 pages of Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I know I started this vlog with saying I didn't have an interest in reading Stephanie Garber's other series, but I have been so charmed by this first 65 pages. Sorry, you're crooked. Let me fix you. I think I need to read that other series by Stephanie Garber. I'm gonna finish this book. I'm just gonna read them out of order. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. The writing style is so whimsical and fun. I love how we're both with our characters, but pulled out of the story sometimes, and having the narrator talking directly to us. The style of the story has just really pulled me in. But to take a step back, what is this book about? So this story introduces us to our main character, Evangeline. I think that's how you say that name. And she, at the beginning of this book, is incredibly distressed because the love of her life, who she thinks is the love of her life, and the person she's been secretly seeing for months and months and months, at the beginning of this book, is actually marrying her stepsister. And she has it in her mind that they both must be cursed. Like, something must have happened because this doesn't make sense. So she goes to one of the fates, and it seems like in this fantasy world, there are different fates that kind of control different things. Kind of like, let's just say gods, like Greek gods, we're gonna call them fates, and they have dominion over different stuff. So she goes to the god of like broken hearts and strikes up a deal. And almost immediately she regrets the deal that she strikes up. For the record, the god of broken hearts is very handsome. And basically, if he kisses someone who's not his true love, they die. And the bargain that she strikes with him is that she has to kiss 3 people of his choosing, and she just has to do it, or That's kind of like the setup, but things quickly go awry for other reasons, which sort of throws her headfirst into like a spotlight in town where all of a sudden all of these men want to marry her. And she also has a very complicated relationship with her stepmother, and she also feels a lot of guilt for breaking up the wedding of her stepsister who she likes. They're not super close, they don't know each other very well, but she does like her. So I don't know, the first 65 pages of this book I'm just really entertained by. The writing style is so easy to get into. It's told like third person omniscient, but we primarily follow our main character Evangeline. And then sometimes though the narrator does talk directly to us, which really gives it that storybook quality. It really has the feeling of like a fairy tale. And in fact, our main character references loving fairy tales a lot, so it just kind of has that quality to it. It also has like newspaper clippings and just like how the whole thing is structured. It just really pulled me in immediately. Like if you love Tress of the Emerald Sea, I feel like you would enjoy this book too. Or if you just like fairy tale quality books. Evangeline is a really easy character to root for. She's young, she's misguided, she's clearly made mistakes, but I'm rooting for her. I will say miscommunication or a character like holding their tongue in a situation you know that if they're just truthful it'll be better for them drives you crazy. This book has that. It doesn't really bother me that much, but I do want to shout it out. If that is a trope that you don't like, this is present in this. But I'm loving this God of Broken Hearts. It's just such a good setup. Like I flew through the first 65 pages of this book. So curious to see how the rest of it's going to play out. I'm curious if this is a standalone. This is the first book to a series. I'll do more research on that and report back. But I do know the other series by Stephanie Garber is set in this world, and I think it just follows like different fates, different magical entities, if you will. But Evangeline is so cute. I'm rooting for her to find the love of her life. She's just, you know, she's just a lovesick girl. It happens to the best of us. And yeah, I don't know. I've just been I kind of went in with like, I thought I was gonna like this book, but honestly, I kind of had like no expectations, and I've just been really charmed by it so far. It's so cute. It's so charming. Anyway, so that has been read. Definitely, I'm on my way to 300 pages for this vlog so far, which I'm pretty pleased with. And there you go. I will check in a bit. Baked potato night, but I'm also reheating the chili. Like for chili potatoes, or I'm just gonna have chili and a baked potato. It's whatever your preference is in this house. Hi friends, good evening. I've just been watching a lot of college football tonight, if I'm being honest. It was Clay's night to pick. We had baked potatoes, and college football is an important stage right now, so we hung around and watched that, but I'm now in bed and I'm gonna read more of Once Upon a Broken Heart, which I'm just so looking forward to. I was expecting to like this book, but I also didn't know what to expect. So I've never read anything by Stephanie Garber before, so I'm just so pleased that so far at least it's off to a great start. So I'm going to keep reading and I will keep you guys posted. Hi guys, good morning. I have done quite a bit of reading between last night and just now. I have read 50% of this book and I'm just so charmed by this book. It's definitely not a perfect book, but there's something about, I don't know, the quality of the narrative, the whimsy, the fun of it all that kind of reminds me of like the experience of watching, I don't know, like a CW show in a way, or like the Buccaneers, like something that's just fun and romantic and silly and coming of age. And yes, there's conflict that's very serious to these characters, but at the same time, like the approach of this novel is to endear you to the characters, entertain you, and ultimately, like, I'm pretty sure everything is going to work out just fine. I could be wrong though. It's kind of a very dark twist, who knows? But obviously we're following our main character, Evangeline, and she's wrapped up, unfortunately, into the crutches of the fate of broken hearts. And obviously she's nursing her own heartbreak at the beginning of this novel when who she thought was the love of her life ended up leaving her for someone else. And due to the events, and now due to her unexpected fame, she also finds herself in a very strange situation where she's swept away to the Northern Kingdom, which is actually where her mother is from. And the Northern Kingdom has a lot more magic than the South. And there's also this unusual tradition of the prince basically finding a queen during a series of like balls and other types of outings. And unfortunately for her, the other person she runs into and the North is the fates of broken hearts. And while he's also devastatingly handsome, he also seemingly has a plan, and Evangeline is in the midst of this plan and she doesn't know why, but he has orchestrated a variety of situations wherein which he can cash in on the kisses that he has promised from her to get what it is that, you know, he needs from whomever. And it's just like a very entertaining situation, and there is conflict and there is definitely stuff set up in this book. Evangeline, in my mind, I really like. She's very naive, she's very pure-hearted, she's also not necessarily the great at confronting wrongs that she has done or have others have done to her, but she's growing into herself and becoming more confident in her ability to like say something. I can understand some people reading this book might be frustrated with Evangeline because she's young and naive, but I view this story as like very much like first love, first venturing out into the world. It's cute, it's very like fairy tale, it's very like heroine seizing the day. In my mind, it's just like not that serious, obviously. And I'm personally like more endeared to her youth and naivete versus like annoyed by it. But again, I think that could just be depending on the reader. I'm also liking this sort of relationship that's developing between her and her stepsister. Obviously, our main character has a lot of guilt because she feels like in some ways she well, not in some way, she was responsible for breaking up her stepsister's wedding and she doesn't want to tell her. So there's that miscommunication that's continuing to be present in this book. But there also appears to be this like larger conspiracy at play and this fate of broken hearts. It's just like cute to see how all these characters interact. Like it's just silly and fun, and I'm rooting for the romance. I'm rooting for our characters to make it out of the other side. It just has this like lovely quality to it, and it very much feels like a fairy tale. And I keep saying that word, but it's very accurate, and it's just been a lot of fun to read. Like it's a very lighthearted read that's kind of like swept me away. It's not too serious, and I wasn't wanting it to be too serious, and I feel like its approach to what it's trying to accomplish, I personally think is very successful. So yeah, halfway through, I'm enjoying it and I'm curious to see how the rest of it's going to unfold. It's just such an easy read and I find myself laughing and smiling, and it's just so cute. You know, if I'm being honest, it's cute. It's just cute. Chocolate chip cookies. And Clay picked me up a sandwich. It's a Vine. I filmed a TikTok and made a little bit of a mess. If anyone ever wonders why I have so many books to put back during my reset videos, this is why, because I'm constantly just pulling off books and putting them back. So I pulled off a bunch and I'm just gonna put them back immediately and be a responsible girl. I am steeping some tea because I'm gonna go sit down and lay in bed actually and work to read more Once Upon a Broken Heart. I'm hoping to maybe finish this tonight. If not tonight, then tomorrow, which I don't think will be too much of an issue because I'm really reading this book really quickly. The writing style is very, very engaging. And tea and a nice afternoon reading session just sounds absolutely delightful. Faux fireplace is on. Ignore my phone tripod. I was filming something for TikTok, but guys, I have been reading so much. Look at this. Look at this. This is all I have left. I've been flying through this book. This book has been a blast to read. I feel like I haven't read something so like romantic, fun, has stakes, but still feels low stakes. Basically, I feel like I haven't picked up a YA book in a while that has worked so well for me. And this is just so cute and charming, and it's just really won me over. Like nothing about it is like mind-boggling, but that's also why it's so fun. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading. I'm flying through this book. I recommend this book. I'm just having a great time. guys. This book is so fun. I'm reading it so quickly. Obviously, I just started it yesterday, but the chemistry between our main character and the possible love interest, stressed, but the chemistry just makes this book so addicting. The mystery of this book is also really starting to accelerate. Obviously, we're following our main character, Evangeline, as she goes to the Northern Kingdom and kind of gets wrapped up with the prince there, but you quickly begin to realize that like something else seems to be in play politically, and there's like a power play. There's also this prophecy and this history of magic in the past that's been covered up, and it seems that Jax, the Fates of Hearts, is interested in this, and then also it seems like Evangeline might be a key to all of what's going on, and they begin to kind of like work more closely with one another as things really like turn upside down. It just really increases the pace at which I'm reading this book. I for sure feel like I'm gonna be able to finish this tonight. I love the banter in this. I feel like sometimes banter can be so cheesy, like fun, but like really cheesy, like mostly cheesy. And I feel like a lot of the romance books I've read recently, the banter feels cheesy, but I feel like the author is able to create this Fate of Hearts with great banter, like very Hal from Howl's Moving Castle vibes. Like, he's that sort of character that's like broken in a way that the girl main character wants to fix. Like, he's handsome, but like glib, and he won't let anyone close. He's like self-effacing, you know, like that sort of situation. And it just works so well. The magic system's fun. But still, like, it's an easy thing to read. Like, nothing about this fantasy world is like too large or too overwhelming. But I think what the focus of this book is having is just making it intoxicating. I'm having a blast with it, you know? So there's that. Exciting moves are happening in this house. I am making a pot roast, but like a slight twist. I'm basically making like Korean style short ribs, but with pot roast. This is obviously not traditional, but pot roast is a lot cheaper than short ribs, so I thought I would give it a try. So this is what we're attempting tonight. I'm also throwing carrots in there. I kind of am like making a pot roast. Again, this is not authentic, but I'm hoping it'll taste good. Ignore the sides of this pot. But honestly, I think it turned out pretty well. I'm now gonna make some zucchini and serve this over rice. Dinner is served. I basically just sauteed some zucchini and some gochujang and soy sauce and some brown sugar. There's the pot roast, and I served it over rice. I wish I had some like scallions. Oh, I do have kimchi. I'm gonna add some kimchi. Clay and I have started The Glory. I just had a random impulse of wanting to start a K-drama, and I've heard just such good things about this. It's very, 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 very dark. Perhaps the darkest K-drama I've ever seen, but so far it's been pretty good. Hi everyone, cheers. It's the next day, and I'm so happy to report I finished both of these books for this vlog, and honestly I enjoyed both of them so much. And before I go into the details about the book, I also just want to quickly shout out, we watched 4 episodes of The Glory last night. That show is bananas. It's so dark and gripping. I can see why it's so popular. I feel very behind, but we're on it now. But anyway, 2 books. The first one, of course, being This Is How You Lose the Time War. I love the combination of fantasy and dystopian influence in this and all of the sci-fi parts, but I really love that at the heart of this book it is a love story, and I really like seeing that unfold with such an unusual and action-focused background, and it was just such an interesting experience. And I bought in on the romance, on the love story immediately, and the letter correspondence was just great. This just felt really unique, incredibly charming, and yeah, it's definitely a book I feel like I would revisit, and I feel like I'm gonna be thinking about this for a while. I really enjoyed this. And then from there, I also read the entirety of Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I didn't know what to expect going into this, but I was just so charmed by the whimsy and the fairy tale quality of this book, the dynamic of our main character. I was rooting for her, and just the setup and synopsis of this was simply fun. I would akin this to almost like a CW show, in a way that I was just so entertained and totally bought in. It didn't blow my mind, but I feel like what the author was trying to achieve in this was so successful. I love the dynamic between our main character, Evangeline, and Jax, the god of broken hearts. He very much gives like Hal from Howl's Moving Castle vibes. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. The writing style is whimsical, straightforward, and I feel like the plot had enough like oomph and twist to it where I was like very, very captivated, but at the same time it was never like so out of this world that it was a difficult read. Like, I just like had fun reading this. I flew through it. I read it in like 24 hours. I can see why this was popular. I've already bought books 2 and 3 because I just feel like this was just so endearing and a great way to break up some of the heavier books that I've been reading recently, and it was just like delightful. And it also reminded me that I do like YA, and I love YA that can like cheer me up, lift me up. Like, this was so endearing, and it had like obvious moments of, and obviously there was real trials and tribulations and emotions our characters were feeling, but I also know that like likely those things in some capacity might work out, or not. Honestly, the series could still turn really dark, but I'm just saying this was just so cute and I had a blast reading this. So I'd have to say, honestly, both of these books were absolutely a knockout for starting my reading year. I feel like I read 2 books I really enjoyed. I read them both super quickly, so I also feel like I kicked off this month very strong. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.